This training, focusing on the promotion and protection of human rights, represents an important component of our collective efforts to support governance and uphold human rights within the country's prison system. Human rights apply to all, including individuals in detention. The European Union remains committed to supporting initiatives that promote a humane and rights-respecting environment in prisons. We commend the Gambia in recognizing the importance of this, amidst, of course, the myriad of other priorities of the security sector. The European Union has been a long-standing partner in the Gambia's governance reforms. Through our collaboration with the national and international partners, such as the National Human Rights Commission, the Ministry of Interior, UNDP, of course, we are committed to ensuring that human rights are a core principle in every aspect of governance, especially within the justice and security sectors.
We gather here at a pivotal moment in our nation's history, not only to reaffirm our commitment to upholding human rights standards, but to embed these principles at the very core of our prison systems. The findings from the TRRC hearings have highlighted a historical context in which systemic issues within the Gambia prison services contributed to human rights abuses and erosion of dignity. And so addressing these historical challenges requires a collaborative effort from all stakeholders, including the government, civil society, and international partners.
The purpose of the training is to enhance the capacity or the knowledge of prison officers on human rights so that human rights are respected in prisons. And we saw during the TRRC hearings the serious violations that happened or occurred in the prisons. So through this training, with support from the EU through UNDP, the Commission seeks to ensure that prison officers are aware of human rights that governs their work, to respect the human rights of prisoners and uphold them so that rights are promoted and protected within the prison system.
The Mandela rules also talk about the admission processes, the classification, the risk and needs assessment. Okay? And I think we briefly talked about admission of pre-trial detainees. Okay? And the Mandela rule said they should also be subject to careful risk assessment, all of them. They should also not be held in worse conditions than convicted prisoners. If we don't take care of their health, if we don't take care of their self-respect, community health, prisoner safety, if we don't take care of prisoner safety, that could also be bad, not just for staff, but also for the outside world, right? The outside community. If we do not take care of this, we will not be able to take care of any of these things.
That's the budget.
Yeah. We don't take care of the budget, we cannot take care of, guarantee quite a lot of this.
We have physical security, procedural security, and dynamic security. These are the three types of security we have when it comes to the context of the prisons. The first one, which is the physical security, it's talking about the buildings, the walls of the prisons, the officers, they themselves. What the prisoners can see, those are the ones that we call the physical security, right? When it comes to the procedural, it means the procedure, the way in which we do things. Dynamic security is knowing what is going on in the prisons. And it is basically a positive relationship between officers and prisoners, right? So, we move on. Physical and procedural security arrangements are essential features of any prison, but they are not sufficient in themselves to ensure that prisoners do not escape. We always see escape all the time, or we hear escape in some other countries. Sometimes those prisons have well-trained staff, they have huge structures, but still now, prisoners escape. That's why it is telling you, this physical and procedural arrangement, no matter how you make it sufficient, but it cannot tell you that the prisoners do not escape. If you see a prisoner in the morning during head check, and that prisoner is not happy, you as an officer, you must know. So these are the things. You must know your prisoners. We have people of different background coming within the prisons. You cannot just say, okay, this is the way I am going to treat Gambians. The other people who are coming from other countries, this is the way that I am going to treat them. They should be fairly treated. The concept of dynamic security is based on what? Positive relationships, communication, interacting between staffs and prisoners. Because of that positive relationship, the prisoners will have confidence to come to you and explain issues. Dynamic security is not just about what? Preventing prisoners from escaping. It is also about maintaining good relationship with prisoners and being aware of their moods and temperaments.
What we're hoping to see is an efficient and professional prison service, staffed by competent officers and operating under acceptable international standards. That's the change that you're looking forward to, right? This is an institutional reform issue. And the activity to be done is review and implement an updated scheme of service for prison officers, detailing minimum qualifications to ensure prisons are manned by competent staff. Okay? So when the NHRC is monitoring, they come back to the prisons and they ask, did you complete this activity? Did you review and implement an updated scheme of service for prison officers, detailing minimum qualifications to ensure prisons are manned by competent officers? Expand training courses and create rehabilitation program in prisons, especially Joshuang Prison, with a focus on young offenders to reduce their chances of reoffending. It's not just supposed to be one training on some skill. The idea is to really have a program that's able to really transform young people's lives when they go into there. Implement a training program for prison cooks and food handlers and implement documented food safety standards. So as a prison service, I think first and foremost, before anything else, just confronting the uncomfortableness. You say, it's true, it happened, it wasn't me, it's my system, but I agree with you and we'll change. We will change, okay? But not to see it as a personal attack, to step away from that and to understand that this is part of an institutional reform and that we have this golden opportunity to be part of that reform process. But I think secondly, to do with your 10 activities is to decide how to sequence.
During the TRRC, the Gambia Prison Service was on the list of institutions that were accused of human rights abuses. And definitely this training is so significant that it has enhanced our officers to know the basic human rights. Officers were now aware of the implications on the abuses of human rights. So therefore this training covered almost all the prisons, both seniors and juniors, has definitely enlightened the Gambia Prison Service staff. Before 2017, there was nothing like rehabilitation in the Gambia Prison Services here. Inmates were sent just to come and idly serve their sentence here without being engaged in any meaningful rehabilitation. But thank God, with this new government, we have introduced skills training that has been supported by UNDP and the inside training. The good side of the training is that some of those inmates have been absorbed by the inside training themselves as lecturers to the Gambia Prison Services.
First of all, I will thank the National Human Rights Commission and their partners for organizing this important training retreat. Before the TRRC, or even that Gambia prisons, it was neglected completely. In those days, I can say Gambia Prison Service was only custodial. It was a system in place which led to certain atrocities or certain human rights abuses. But today, we are no more custodials. We are there to reform, rehabilitate, and reintegrate the inmates to the society. When you come there, our prisoners are learning skills like electrical installation, sewing. When you come to Janjambure Prison too, they are making a business class, which is very effective because it helps prisoners after serving their term they are going back to the society. So they became useful in the society. Today, our president is geared towards to reform them, rehabilitate them, and reintegrate them to the society.
The training is very important, very timely, and is very, very fruitful, because we are in a democratic state where human rights needs to be observed and recognized at all times, especially as us law enforcement agents. All the oversight bodies that are visiting the prisons have seen the conditions of the prisons, which is not favorable to either us and the inmates. And then after the visits of those oversight bodies, they normally write recommendations. And then part of the recommendations used to be focused on the conditions of the prisons. Though they are improving gradually, because everything cannot be done at the same time. Since the change of government, now Nana is the one responsible for the prisoners' menu. And then the cooking is done by the prisoners. It's just that the ingredients are supplied by prisons, which is from the government through us. Yes, there is need for improvement in their diets.
This training definitely is a very important training for us as a prison officers, because it will enhance our capacity and our knowledge about the human rights violations that allegedly happens at the prison, which are not good at all. And by the coming of the TRRC, it's a learning point for each and every prison officer. If anybody is not educated during this TRRC, I don't think you want to change, definitely. And we are going for changes. I want to thank National Human Rights Commission, European Union, UNDP, and other partners for organizing this workshop for the prison officers, because at the end of the day, we'll be able to relate these messages and the information to those who did not have the opportunity to be part of this training. So we want to thank them so much, and I want them to be organizing a series of training like this for the prison officers, so that we can have a better prisons in the Gambia.
This is a very important team that we have here today, because these are the people who are sleeping, drinking, eating with the inmates. From 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, on shift basis, you are dealing with the inmates every second. You know the problems, you know their issues. These few days training that you will do here should be your food at the prisons. Don't say, I was ordered to do this when it is not lawful. TRRC, most of them have an issue, not because they did it, but they said, I was ordered to do that. That was is in the past now.
For any person to be arrested or any person's liberty to be restricted, it has to be done in accordance with the law. And in fact, that's why in the prisons you have rules regarding the admission and discharge of people. You know, there are procedures. I'm not sure if you're going to admit anybody to the prison without having a committal warrant from the competent authority. All persons under any form of detention or imprisonment shall be treated in a humane manner, you know. It means that you must always observe the dignity of the individual, you know. The dignity of the individual must be upheld at all material times. So individual's dignity must be respected. So that's why this principle is saying that for any detention, it has to be sanctioned by law. It has to be done in accordance with the law. So that's why I say some of these principles are already codified in our laws. I believe this is also contained in the Prisons Act in terms of admission and discharge of individuals. So any other type of imprisonment that is not in conformity with what is ordered by this authority should not be allowed.
NHRC conducts periodic monitoring of the prisons. And some of the areas that we look into, those are the ones I just highlighted here. Now, we went to mile 2. We observed that the toilet facilities have been put in detention facilities, tiled, and water supply uninterrupted. So there's been improvement in that area. Okay? But we found out that sanitary towels were not provided by state for inmates. They say they rely on donations. There are challenges in that area. You also have issues relating to lighting and ventilation, which are poor. So any improvement in that area since 2023 is the same. Huh?
They have provided funds. Funds in their cells.
Okay, funds.
Ceiling funds.
Okay, ceiling funds.
Wall funds.
Wall funds. Okay, since 2023. Okay, numerous complaints were raised by convicts, among them poor food quality, water shortage, inadequate uniform, lack of mosquito bed nets, insufficient medicine in the prisons. I think some of these things they came out. I think medicine we have discussed that several times. So, but what about the mosquito nets? So there is no shortage now since 2023. Yeah, all right. Okay, it's all right.
We have shortage of jumpers.
Shortage of jumpers. Okay. Still, that's a problem. Yeah, all right. Okay. It was observed that cells in remand were overcrowded and accommodated twice more than the amount required. So how is the situation now? Is it the same? Still now. Okay. We need further action on this in order to decongest remand so that they live in humane conditions. Okay?
This training on the human rights is the most important, especially for us and the inmates inside. Is now we know our role between us, the officers, and the inmates, our rights and the rights of the inmates, our duties and how to perform it, and how to deal with them, even when they offend, how to deal with them. We are with the female inmates there. Our relationship will be more strong and smooth. That's why the training is very, very, very important to us.
Having such training is very important as far as our work is concerned. So such training in the area of the international humanitarian laws, the gender and sexual violence, those areas are very important when you come to our work as far as prison is concerned. We are thanking the National Human Rights Commission for giving us this opportunity, and we want them still now to continue to give more, because prisons, we have a lot. So we want them to help us further and further.